I'm Molly.
And I'm Andrea. Saudi had once said, a stupid person should keep silent, but if he knew this, he would not be a stupid person. Well, let's take a look at two stupid people not keeping silent.
What's that? Where's Ron Zinger? Ron Ziger. Richard Nixon, as a spokesman, once said, "The president is aware of what is going on. That's not to say something is going on."
And Brooke Shields stated that smoking kills. If you're killed, you've lost a very important part of your life.
Very true. According to Broke, dying could be hazardous to one's health. Speaking of losing one's life, left us now take a look at 5 ways you won't want to die.
In 1901, Maud Willard threw herself over Niagara Falls in a barrel. It's a famous stunt that claimed it took away the lives of many daredevils. The only difference in this particular case is that the fall wasn't the cause of poor Maud's death. She forced her dog into the barrel with her. The dog pressed its nose up against the barrel's single air vent. Maud had suffocated.
In 1903, an early man lived in Liverpool, England, was following his 24-pound wife up the stairs one night. She lost her balance and fell backward. She hit her head on the floor and died instantly. Her husband lay trapped under her body for 3 days. By the time their friends found her, she had also expired.
In 1975, a robber holding up a restaurant in Newport, Rhode Island, was nervous and unpracticed at Stickups. To stuff the money in his pocket, he used hand-holding his gun. The gun went off and killed him.
Yeah. In 1983, a San Diego woman was arrested for shoplifting. She swore she would hold her breath until she turned blue if the police didn't release her. They didn't. She died. She died.
Tennessee Williams suffocated at the age of 71 when he bent his head backward to squirt in nose spray. The cap fell into his mouth and he partially swallowed it.
Oh yeah. It's not always the case where people do stupid things that get themselves killed. We will now report on the case that baffled nurses for several months.
In the same bed of a South African hospital, the nurses would find a patient dead every Friday morning. An extensive search for a possible bacterial infection failed to reveal any clues. Officials finally discovered that every Friday morning, a cleaning lady would enter the ward, remove the plug to patient's life support system, plug in her floor polisher, and then wax the floor. When she had finished her chores, she would plug back in the life support and leave, unaware that the patient was now dead.
Remind me not to go into the hospital when I am sick. The next report will show that even the dead may have things to say.
During the Revolutionary War, General George Washington led the Continental Army to their first victory by surprising the British troops at the Battle of Trenton. Of course, he shouldn't have been able to surprise anyone. A loyalist spy trying to report Washington's plans wasn't allowed to see the British commander. Because the colonel wouldn't be interrupted while he was playing cards, the desperate spy finally sent a note explaining that the enemy was advancing for a sneak attack. The British colonel put the note into his pocket without reading it. Instead, he continued to play cards. It was his deal. The note was later found on the dead colonel's body after Washington's victory.
We're almost to our last report. This one that we're about to read to you is what happens when you fail to kill yourself. You could not win a Nobel Prize.
In 1873, a Russian scientist named Elie Menchaznikov attempted to kill himself with an overdose of morphine. He survived. 7 years later, he tried to kill himself again. This time, it was an injection of deadly bacteria. That failed as well. His subsequent research of bacteriology won Menchaznikov a Nobel Prize in 1908.
Okay, yeah. And now for the final report. This one doesn't deal with death as much as it does with where to be buried.
The owner of a vegetarian health spa in Mexico insisted in his will that he be buried only in the no smoking section of the cemetery.
How healthy for him. We've come to the end of this video edition. We hope you enjoy it.